Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm here with Doug Mancheski. Hi, Doug.
Hi, Jeff.
I think it's fair to say that Doug is probably one of the most recognized actors at Northern Sky for all of your wonderful roles over the years. Don't you think that's a fair statement?
Well, I don't know, maybe. Only
Oh,
because of longevity.
only because of longevity. What was your first year with Northern Sky, Doug?
The summer of 1997. Um,
97.
yeah, that was that's a long time ago. It was it was the first summer. I came directly from New York, and I I was thinking about joining your company for a few summers before, but I was on this one track to be a New York actor all the time.
Uh-huh.
And I had some personal things with my family. And I thought, oh my God, this might be my last time my dad will see me act because he had a heart condition. So I said yes right away. Jimmy Kaplan asked me. And so I came to your farm. It was a retreat in Madison area. And you gave me, I don't think you ever heard me sing. And you gave me like two of them were like leading roles, I think. Lead ingenue. I mean, the leading man role in what was one? Northern Lights, and then
Yeah.
there were two character roles, tongue in cheek, and Lumberjacks in Love.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it was. And I remember Fred a few months after I said yes, he sends me in the mail um, rewrites of Lumberjacks in Love. And then
For
he put the little dress in there, and I was reading it, I went, what? And that's when he
Oh.
said, what do you think about this? And so,
Well, that's so interesting. Wait, what
yeah.
that? But that's we didn't add that song until we went to Milwaukee Rep, though, right?
No,
Or
no, no, no. We had it way
we did it
before.
before that?
Yeah. It was only when Lee did it the year before. And then when Fred knew I was going to take over, he put that song in.
Oh,
And
for heaven's
no,
sake.
no. Yeah.
That's amazing. Right.
Yeah.
So in
We
97.
ended, it's interesting. You brought up the Milwaukee Rep because we had some discussion about where we're going to put the intermission. And we began the second act with Little Dress, which I thought was like weird, but it worked like gangbusters.
Yeah, it did.
I remember
It
that.
did.
I was like, it's gonna slow the momentum, but it didn't because the audiences were ready to laugh. Beginning of
Yeah,
each
no.
chapter. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a real propeller in that show.
yeah.
What's so interesting about that summer of 97 is I myself had to go to New York to take care of some stuff that summer. So I directed everything for the summer season and then for the fall, but I did not act on stage that summer. And I don't think Fred did either. Did he?
No, no,
Yeah, because we both
no. He did. He did tongue in cheek. He did tongue in cheek.
no.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, yeah, he did tongue in cheek. He must have done Lumberjacks too. He had to have done
Yeah, he had to do Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks.
Yeah, but he
Yeah,
didn't want to do Northern Lights. Were you? You
that's
were in Northern
right.
Lights. You were in Northern Lights.
No, I didn't. I directed it, but Chris Irwin was in it with you.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris Irwin took over my Fred's role, and you took over my role, I think. Didn't you sing? Did you sing Whitebird in that show?
Yeah, but I thought I took Fred's role.
Oh, you could have. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you played Chris's role.
We've been around too long, Doug. We can't remember anything anymore.
It all blurs after a while. I give myself a 2 to 5 year limit. That's it.
One of the things that I find fascinating about you, Doug Mancheski, is I will bring people to Northern Sky for the first time ever, and they'll see you in something like Lumberjacks or Guys on Ice or whatever, these kind of big, bold comedic roles. And yet, I have seen you in dramatic performances, non-musical dramatic performances, where you play the exact opposite often. You want to talk a little bit about that and what it means to do both?
It's great to do both. I always say people say that. How can you do something? Well, first of all, I always like to say to people, I began as a very serious actor when
Uh-huh.
I was 18 to like 22, 23. I was a very serious actor. And it was only when I took class from Uta Hagen and then I went with Paul Sills that I turned around and I said, why are people laughing at me? I'm trying to do something really serious here. And of course, the more serious I became, the more attuned I was into the acting teacher's direction, the more funny I became. And people were just laughing hysterically. I went, what's going on here? And so then I realized, then I fell in love with it, of course. But, you know, Jeff, I always think it's, and I'm sure you agree, it's the same source of energy. It's the same source, the comedy. And I would say comedy is just what happens at the end.
Yeah.
The end. Yeah, that's what makes it.
Well, one of the treats for me, frankly, in my development as an artist and particularly as an actor was to work with Paul Sills, and I know that you feel the same way, and B, to work with you while I was working with Paul Sills, because I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about improvisation. I learned so much about being in the moment and being fearless from you two guys. It was just an extraordinary lesson. And that's one of the things I admire about you the most is how fearless you are on stage. It's really a wonderful, wonderful attribute.
Yeah, it's just something that, I think Molly had the same teacher at SMU. Gail Cronauer, she taught me at GB before she went to SMU. And she was always encouraging me to act on my impulse all the time. And she would critique me and say, you didn't act on your impulse here. Why did you check yourself? And she, you know when it's coming and you have a split second to act on it. And if you don't, the audience knows it. You think you can pretend to the audience that they won't notice that I squelched an impulse, but they do. Yeah, and so it had a lot to do with that. But I've always been a sort of impulsive guy, so.
Yeah. Well, this is another, I think, fascinating thing about you. Again, when I bring people to Northern Sky and they see you do, you know, one of your famous, what I'll call a clown role, and then afterward they'll be talking about, they'll be so enamored of you, and you know, they'll be like, "What's he like off stage? I bet he's hysterical," you know, and it's so interesting. I would say that you're one of the most extroverted performers that I know, and you're one of the most introverted individuals that I know. And I find that dichotomy really fascinating as well. You know, you're so quiet off stage and so thoughtful and introspective. I mean, I think that's accurate, isn't it?
Yeah, I was horrible during grade school being introvert. I hardly had any friends. I was very shy, painfully shy. And I sort of came out in high school. And so but on the other hand, you know, not that I'm a great comedian, but it's just like, I've noticed a lot of comedians, like I'll never forget, I went backstage to see Waiting for Godot, directed by Mike Nichols. And I met Robin Williams and Steve Martin. And everyone would expect those guys to be wild, you know? And they were like the most subdued people. I thought that they were both on Quaaludes after they were both in Waiting for Godot. And they were just so meek and humble. Hi, how you doing? Hi. And I went, oh. So.
Yeah. So, Doug, you're offering an auction item. A lot of people have been looking at the list for the past week, some people for the first time today, and that auction will continue until 8:15. Can you tell us a little bit about the experience that you're offering?
Yes, I'm offering 5 plants that I have grown from seed in my basement, and I will offer you all the plants you could take a selection from any of the plants I'm growing from seed, or you may have one of my prized tubers that I have, my dahlia tubers or my calla lily tubers that I have had in my possession for over 10 some years now. Wow. And they're perfect. They're gigantic. They would guarantee to grow and bloom. And I will personally come over to your house. I will personally give you a little speech about each plant and each tuber. And I will plant them in wherever space you desire around your house or anywhere else for that matter. God, I've always loved it. And I try to do seeds that are really hard to get or no one wants to grow, sell them in the store because they get too big. And
like, what are you talking about? Like, for instance?
You know, the gigantic cosmos, like at 3 feet high. And, you know, I do a lot of hollyhocks. I actually do annual hollyhocks. So you don't have to wait for 2 years to get them. Not bleeding heart. Little amaranths, those type of plants. Gigantic zinnias. I love those. And you can't find them once in the store. They won't sell them because they get too big and they get too leggy. Yeah. So you got to put them out right away. Or mallow tree. I love mallow trees. I love the whole mallow family. I love
I
air
think
horns.
there are a lot of people who don't know. Obviously, people who are interested in this auction item are learning or did already know that you are a master gardener.
Yes, yes. I became, I think it was right after my mother died. I was sort of in the dumps, and I saw this ad in the paper. I had like 2 months off. I didn't act. And I saw this ad in the paper, Master Gardener, when we still had papers back in
Right.
2009. Where are you kids out there? The real papers they held in hand. And, and I saw this ad at the extension, and I went, oh, I bet it's all going to be retired people. That's all right. And so I go in there, and there's all different ages in this Master Gardener class at the UW Extension in Green Bay. And I had no idea the amount of work and study I would have to do.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, what did I get myself into? But I just found it more fascinating. I love the whole process of seed. I love the idea of a tiniest seed.
Yeah.
You ever look at a kale seed, how tiny it is?
Yeah.
And I just can't believe it just grows and grows. I just think it's just a great metaphor, analogy of life. And especially when you're grieving someone, it was such a great cycle of life affirmation, like life goes on, la la la, make
Right.
room for the young. I just love it all.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
how I began. I became really interested in the botany of it all. And
Yeah.
so,
And you eat the vegetables that you grow as well,
oh
right?
my gosh, I just love the idea of going outside for the next 5 months right now. I'm actually eating kale right now that I grew up. It's in the
Are
garden
you
now.
really?
Yeah. And
Wow.
I started really early with row covers. And I just love going outside and just picking it, especially kale.
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
it doesn't taste that great unless you pick it right away or put something on it. Let's face it. And but it's so wonderful eating fresh vegetables as soon as you go off the garden. Instead of letting them sit in the fridge for a week, they lose their taste, their freshness
Yeah.
after a couple days. And I
Yeah.
just love that idea of just going outside and doing it right away.
That's
So
fantastic. One of the other auction items that I hear you are offering is that you will show up and do a singing telegram if somebody wants.
yeah, if they want to, I will come to your house as far as south as Milwaukee, and I don't know, within a 150-mile radius, I'll come of Green Bay, and I would say pick one of your favorite songs of the shows that I've done. If you want me to change up the lyrics, I'll stand 6 feet away from your house. You can videotape me, whatever. Ask
That's
me to
great.
dress in some costume if you want, whatever I have downstairs, and I'll give you my own private showing.
That's fantastic. I love
Yeah.
that. So, Doug, one of the last things I just want to ask you is, you, as you, as we talked about, you've been involved with Northern Sky since 1997. It's been a large part of your professional life, your professional career. Would you just tell people what Northern Sky has meant and continues to mean to you?
What it means to me is what I got into business to begin with. It is because the top priority, I don't care if you're doing Hamlet, I don't care if you're doing the outrageous comedy, it's all entertainment. It's entertainment, and it's transporting people to go to the theater and exiting the theater to be in a completely different state of being. And I just love, which is transforming. So we're transforming as actors, but we're transforming the audience. And you only get that from live theater, let's face it. Live theater is the only way, even after just an hour show, you can be a totally different person. And I think Northern Sky exemplifies that the most, because we're doing original shows that speak to the audience, that connects the audience right to where you are. These are people dealing with issues that you have today. And so, and also another big thing for me is I've said this before, I've acted in a lot of theaters, and it seems like the youngest person is 50 that comes to the theater. And I go to Northern Sky. I think the best, probably one of the top 5 things in my life is to hear a child laugh. And I love hearing children laugh. You can be the most depressed person. You can be the most down in the dumps. And when you hear children laughing, oh my gosh, can that not raise your heart and your mentality? And I just love hearing children laugh.
Oh,
And I love seeing a whole family come to the theater. I just think that's the greatest thing. So, and everyone says the theater is dying. No, it's always going to be here. And I think it's so important for children to come to the theater, because I saw theater when I was very young too, and that's how I got hooked. When you see a show that you really love when you're very young, you're hooked for life. You remember that experience so much. So you may see 20 shows that you don't think much of, but you'll always remember that first show that you really love. It could be something on Northern Sky, like Lumberjacks Love. They say Lumberjacks Love at 5 years old. I know some people that said Lumberjacks at 5 years old, and they keep on going to the theater for years and years and years afterwards because they remember that experience, and they're hoping that experience they get that again in some other theater. That's why they go, and I think that's why it's really important. It is a vocation. It's a mission.
Yeah. Well, I feel incredibly lucky, Doug, to have had you for a colleague and a friend for all of these years. And I look forward to the next time that we could be on stage together. It can't come soon enough. That's all I can say.
Ditto. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I go back and forth. So right now I don't listen to news hardly anymore.
There's that.
Whatever happens.
We'll see you in some in multiple clips tonight in the special event at 7:00. I don't know if you've been told what they are, but tune in and you'll find out, because you can well imagine you'll be well represented from all of the stuff that you've done at Northern Sky over the last 10 years.
Terrific.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this, Doug.
All right.
Love you, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.